I decided probably back in 2011, 2012, when Nancy Rawls, I don't know if you ever got to meet her. She used to work at Remex. She called me and asked me to get involved in the commercial committee here in Lubbock. And I did not know I could tell her no. I mean, you've met Nancy. You don't tell that woman no. So I said, sure, I'll do it. And then Deborah Perez-Ruiz said, you should run for the board. And I didn't know I could tell her no. So there's a common journey. You'll find that I just didn't know I could say no to things. And I said, I would always say, sure, I'll do that. What does that mean?
That voice you just heard is Jef Conn, commercial broker, past chairman of Texas REALTORs, and someone who knows how to lead with both systems and heart. In this episode, we talk about saying yes before you're ready, building systems that create freedom, and how to think bigger, both in business and in life. This one is packed with gold. Let's get into it. All right, welcome back to Leading Lubbock. Today I've got the privilege of sitting down with Jef Conn. So Jef, I've gotten to serve a little bit with you on the local board for the Lubbock Association of Realtors, and have gotten to see you in the commercial space a little bit, but I'm excited for that today. You get to share a little bit about your story, a little bit about leadership and your journey in that, and that people listening get that opportunity to catch some of that too. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So I mentioned that you are on the Lubbock Association of Realtors Board of Directors.
Yes.
You are a commercial agent here, and you do a lot of industrial and office.
Yep, that's
spaces.
correct. That's what I
correct?
specialize in. That's
Okay.
correct.
Great. So tell me a little bit more, because I know it's not just here in Lubbock, and I know it's not just the board. You got a lot of things going on in leadership.
I've been doing this a long time. So last month, 18 years in the business.
Okay.
Only commercial. We were talking before the show. I've never sold a house. All I do is commercial.
Yes.
And we all need to have our specialties, and residential is not mine. Commercial is. And a long time ago, I got involved in the local leadership where you and I both serve together now, and just kept going. And so I ended up serving at the state level just on a committee, and ended up being the chairman of Texas REALTORS last year. It wasn't as quick as my explanation there. It took about a decade. And it's been a great learning opportunity every step of the way, and some imposter syndrome along the way, but also realizing I am ready for this along the way. So it's been a fun journey, and excited to see what happens next.
Yeah. So one thing that I've realized in my journey, even being on the board and serving on some committees here locally, is it takes a lot to just even move to the next step, right? So you're even taking some classes, or not even classes, but doing like the Texas Leadership Program, right? And going through different levels to now you got to be, secretary, treasurer, and then you move over to chairman, and that's just like on a local level.
Right.
And you kind of rinse and repeat on the higher levels. And so I know there's a big commitment in that.
There is. I decided probably back in 2011, 2012, when Nancy Rawls, I don't know if you ever got to meet her. She used to work at Remex. She called me and asked me to get involved in the commercial committee here in Lubbock. And I did not know I could tell her no. I mean, you've met Nancy. You don't tell that woman no. So I said, sure, I'll do it. And then Deborah Perez-Ruiz said, you should run for the board. And I didn't know I could tell her no. So there's a common journey. You'll find that I just didn't know I could say no to things. And I said, I would always say, sure, I'll do that. What does that mean? And you just mentioned there's a lot of steps when you're moving up in leadership, especially in our real estate association world, is you have to do A before you do B, and then you have to do C. And if you've done D, you can do E and F. There's just a lot of different doors you have to go through, but no journey's the same. Everyone gets to their place of leadership in their own way, in their own path, in their own time, which is great. But for me, it went from the commercial committee to the board of directors. And at that time, there were no other commercial agents on the board of directors. And I thought, well, this is a way that I could add value, but I could also learn about residential. Again, I don't sell residential, but a lot of residential things affect commercial. Our buyers are the same, and I need to understand what's going on. And as an investor in real estate, I would like to know what's going on for my own personal investments. Yeah. So I got involved, and then went from board of directors, then in Lubbock, we call it the at-large member, part of the executive team. Before you move into, when I did it, you had to do secretary and then treasurer, and then president-elect. So it was a year longer process than it is today. But every step of the way, someone said, you should run. And I'd say, great. And I didn't know I could say no. And so I just kept going and found I really enjoy the process of the association in the real estate industry, it's run by people like you and me. Industries don't run themselves. It takes people who steps up and say, hey, I don't like this rule, or I think we should have this rule in MLS. Or on the commercial side, when Xceligent and CoStar were fighting back in the day, that's our MLS system. We had to come together as an association and get 80 people to agree on one platform, which unfortunately is not the MLS that residential uses. So we are completely separate. But you have to get 80 people on the same board. If people aren't engaged and involved and understand how everything works, when something like that happens, our members don't know what to do. And we can't, whoever speaks loudest or has the biggest pocketbook is who wins in that situation. So having commercial and residential people involved together, especially on the local board, means that we can bounce ideas off each other, and we can work for the betterment of all of our members, not just those of us who are involved.
Yeah, wow, and that's incredible to think about and then be a part of. On the local level is sitting in on some of those committees. It's actually really neat to hear the issues come up, and then okay, now we have an opportunity to do something about it, or it's time to make a change. What are we going to? And having voices speak up, it's not easy.
No,
it's not easy to make that decision. And it's neat to see behind the curtains of like, somebody's not just saying this is the way it is, right? There's discussions happening. There's a lot happening behind the scenes. And unfortunately for years as an agent, I took advantage of that on the residential side.
Most do.
I had no clue that things were going on behind the scenes that impacted my business. It's just day to day. I just take it as I go.
The real estate industry is 16 to 20% of our nation's GDP. It's a big thing. So when you think about how big it is, and in Lubbock, I don't know what percent of our Lubbock's GDP our real estate market is off the top of my head, but it's a big deal. The amount of people who are actively involved, who are helping shape that, is actually quite small. So an agent listening to this who wants to get involved and make a difference, come serve on a committee and the local board, because percentage-wise, there's not very many of us who are doing that, but the people who are there are doing it for the right reasons. There's not a single person involved in the Lubbock Realtors that I've ever, my entire 18 years of being in this business, that were serving for selfish reasons. They were serving to help everyone. Not every association in Texas could say that, but absolutely Lubbock can say that. And that's a good thing. So we need people like you and I, people who are hustling, making deals, showing properties, doing whatever it takes to get a deal across the finish line, to be there to help answers of how do we keep this train on the tracks? And when things like the settlement that happened last year, how do we keep everyone, including our competitors, moving forward for the benefit of our clients?
Yeah. Oh, that's good. And I want to just point out, like, you being the chairman of the Texas Realtors Association.
That was last year, yes.
So this is you kind of went through that really quickly, right? And so just for the sake of people understanding that commitment and understanding even the amount of people that you're serving in that seat, like we're talking all realtors in Texas.
Yes. At the time I was elected, we had about 150,000 members.
Yeah.
It is, well, back at the local level, you have your committees, and then you have your board of directors, and that's who leads your association. Well, at the state level, there are committees. We have what's called a regional vice president. So Jason Alton Amarillo is Region 1s. In Texas, we have 14 regions. So Region 1, Lubbock to Pampa. You've got Houston, that's their own region. You got El Paso, their own region. So think how big Texas is. Yeah. We have very different needs from what happens in Houston to what happens in El Paso. Yeah. And so we have regional vice presidents that help that. And then there's public policy, because we're a big advocacy organization. When you serve on the leadership team, you have served on some type of TREPAC or RPAC committee. You have done public policy. I was a business issues guy. I liked working on that side of the public policy. You are probably serving anywhere from 8 to 10 years on the fast side. Most people in leadership, it's 10 to 15 years of serving as a committee, then serving on the executive board, which is made up of 85, 86 people. And then you have the board of directors, which is about 220 people. It's kind of like the House and the Senate. Our representation, it kind of gets political when you go to the state and especially the national level. Our representation of Houston, they have a larger delegate to the board of directors than Lubbock does. We have 2. They have 40. So there's a much bigger difference, and it's more challenging for someone who's not from a major city of Dallas, Austin, Fort Worth, San Antonio to get elected to the board of directors and serve as chairman, because that group of the large committees, 86% of the vote, if they get behind one and only one candidate, there's no way that person will lose. So there's some politics, and really, yes, it is politics, but it's just people business. It's relationships that for decades, I've been doing this 18 years, I've been serving at the state level for 13 years probably. So building relationships, not just in Lubbock, but across the state, so that when I felt it was right, that worked for me and my business and my life, what's going on, to run at the time I did. And I was actually asked to run earlier, and I told them no, it wasn't right for me.
You said no.
I said no the first time.
There was this word that I even wrote down.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't say no. Like, I
well,
don't know
they asked me to run at the time. There was someone running, and some past presidents asked me to run against them. And I said, no, I don't want to run to be the person who isn't that person. I want to run to be the right person. And it didn't work for my business, because that is a very time-intensive, not just 1 year as chairman, it's years. And so for the last 6 years, I've been on the road at least 150 days a year. But with technology and great systems, you can run a very successful business and not be in Lubbock for 3 months out of the year.
Wow.
Now, do my clients know that I was gone every Tuesday for a year? No, because I would respond to calls. I would use the schedule later feature. Yeah. You can organize your systems, and if you have great communication, it doesn't matter if you're sitting in Lubbock or Austin, you can do your job. And there's a big system and a team behind all that. And the first time I was asked, it was not the right time. I ran in 2020, was elected, and then we had a membership team step down. And so I had to speed everything up a year to become chairman in 24 instead of 25, which ended up being a great blessing. I enjoyed it. But it is a big, and was a big responsibility to serve on behalf of 150,000 people, because we set a lot of rules and regulations within Texas and the nation about what real estate agents can and cannot do, and what can be done in the real estate industry. Well, when you're chairman, you get to be the spokesperson. Yeah, this was right at the time when the settlement was released. So there were days, I had one day we had 8 Zoom interviews, but I also had 8 showings. So it was 1 for 1. I would do a showing, get in my car, put on a sport coat, do the interview from Zoom in my car. We had a green screen, so it didn't look like it was in my car. Take the jacket off, go into another warehouse and come out. It was the busiest day I had as far as interviews and business colliding. But it's possible because we're practitioners. We don't get paid for that position. Yep. But we still have a business to run. Right. So it was a big task.
Yeah, that's what floors me about listening to this is I was thinking, like, you didn't put your commercial business on hold, and then you started going into that. So
no, my business, Rick Kennep's my broker, fantastic man. Worked with Rick Kennep at Coldwell Banker for the last 18 years. And when I first started getting involved in leadership, he said, hey, I love this for you. I just don't want your business to suffer. And I made him a promise. Every year my business is going to grow. And so I've had every year my business has grown. And I've moved up in leadership roles at the state and national level. Yeah. And it's hard. There are mornings where I was in a meeting in Austin where it'd be 4 a.m. and I'm writing a contract, hopping on a plane, working the entire way there, stopping what I'm doing, having the meetings with whatever elected official, if we were meeting with the governor that day or a public policy team, go back to the airport and keep working, and then work until 9 o'clock when I got home. So it's just, it's possible to do both, but that's a misconception. That people think you join leadership, especially in the real estate world, your business is going to suffer, and that's not been my experience. You can be very good at both.
Okay. I want to get into that. So kind of navigate this a little bit differently than usual.
Great.
Because we've gotten to hear a lot of your leadership experience. We're already going into, like, what does that mean for business? But you're also a person that has a real life too. Like, this life that exists, hopefully, outside of leadership and business. So you're balancing what I'm seeing as 3 different big plates. You know, and I'm sure there's even lots of other smaller ones too, that life is happening, parents getting ill, or, you know, it could be anything.
Right.
But I want to get into how can the everyday person listening to this, you know, different businesses, different situations that we're all in. And I'm thinking, man, I can relate to that I've got to do this over here, and I've got to balance this over here, and I've got to be a good, you know, friend, a good dad, a good, you know, significant other, whatever it may be. And so how do you balance all of that? And I know it sounds like you're doing it well.
Well, the key is faking it till you make it. No, I'm joking. I attribute it to, or liken it to, marathon training. I used to be a marathon runner. I've done some Ironmans. I just started this week running again. I'm going to do my next half marathon in April next year. And I lost a lot of my training. So this week's running has been very slow. And I'm like, I hate running, but I actually want to enjoy it. That's a lot like leadership, is you have to start slow. So if an agent in Lubbock or whatever city's listening to this, go to a committee meeting. I didn't say 14. I said one. Yeah. Go to one committee meeting. In Lubbock, maybe it's governmental affairs. Maybe you come out to the Tree Pack Golf Tournament that's happening Monday and you show up. But most importantly, just start showing up. Make it a goal once a month. That's we waste more than an hour a month on Facebook,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
absolutely.
So go to that and learn that, hey, I just have to block off the second Tuesday of every month from 2 to 3:30 to go to this meeting, whatever it may be, whatever you're interested in. And by the way, if you show up to a meeting and you not like it, as a non-MLS user, I would not like the MLS committee. That's not my forte.
Yeah.
I don't use the same MLS. But finance, that's what I love. I love spreadsheets. I love numbers. So for me, spending an hour a month in that meeting, I can use the skills that I have and get back to the association and go back and work. So you just don't schedule a showing between 2 and 3 on that day, whatever the committee meeting may be. And then you realize, okay, life went on. I was still able to do my deals and I was giving back. Well, then maybe the next year you move up to a different position or you get more involved as a chair or vice chair of that committee. And so over time, you're training yourself like you would in marathon training. I'm training myself to spend time on my feet, not really worried about time. And then as I get better at running, I'm going to start dialing in and say, what does it look like to run at a 7.5 minute pace instead of an 8 minute pace? Okay. Same with leadership. What does it look like to not just be a committee member, to be on a board of directors, which is a little bit more time commitment because you've got your board meetings. But when you move up in leadership roles, you realize you have to be very informed. So the board of directors, you and I know, we get that email with a packet of information. Most people who are doing an okay job in leadership will show up and scan it, and they'll know enough to talk about it. The people who are doing the most in leadership and are more likely to move up are the people who read every single word, who know exactly what's going on. If they have questions or if they've addressed them with the appropriate people ahead of time. So when you show up, you know what you're doing, and those people can speak with the most authority in the room because they know what they're talking about. You do that consistently, you're going to get noticed, and people will say, hey, you should move up. Showing up is half the battle. So part of this longer journey for me serving as chairman and seemingly being able to balance a lot of things was because I started 12, 13 years ago going to a committee meeting and working on that. As part of Lubbock's leadership is when you're on the executive team, so president-elect, president, secretary, treasurer, you also are encouraged to serve at the state level. We are blessed. Our association pays for our members, not just leadership. If you serve in a committee, we'll pay for your travel. We'll pay for your conference. So Lubbock Realtors, if you're listening, apply for leadership. We'll pay for you to go. Yep. So there's not a monetary thing holding you back as far as taking time away in hotels. It's all going to be covered or reimbursed. So when you're at the state level, it's okay. Now I have a state conference twice a year. That's 4 or 5 days out of the office. What does my life need to look like in order for me to be gone away from my desk or my home for 4 to 5 days? Okay, you've got someone at the office who isn't going who could help with showings because you can return phone calls and emails, but you physically can't do showings. So you've got to have a team there. And as you move up in leadership, you just have to figure out where you're going. And for me, the jump from local president, because there was some travel involved and there was I was also involved at state and national committees as well. So there was a lot going on. I figured out how to run my business when I wasn't in Lubbock. But as I grew up into the higher positions of being chairman last year, I had to heavily rely on my team here in Lubbock. I've got an amazing assistant. I could not do what I do without her. 90% of my job, she can do. She is so talented. And I give her the ability to say, hey, if there's some weaknesses or flaws or better ways to do it, you have full permission to go and find it and tell me. So Busy is an incredible assistant. And I could not be sitting here without her. Yeah. So having a great team is important, but I got some advice. When you're starting to think about moving up in leadership, you should ask people, one, do you think I'm qualified? Am I the caliber of person they're looking for? But also, people who have done it before, they can probably tell you their journey. So I went and asked a bunch of past presidents. Again, it's a relationship business. As you show up to the meetings and get to know people, you have their phone numbers. You can get a hold of them on Facebook. And so I just said, what does it look like? And Trey Bates, he was our president of Texas Realtors, or chairman, and now he's our vice president of governmental affairs. He's our head lobbyist. He said, Jeff, you need to practice going out of town. Take your laptop, book a trip for 3 days, and then write down everything that didn't work. Still work, do it during business hours, but find out what isn't working. And at that time, we were transitioning from a server base where you had to have a VPN to log in at work to everything being in the cloud. And so that taking a month, I would just buy the cheapest Southwest ticket to Tulsa, Oklahoma, surprisingly great city, and just go. It's actually really nice. I found it because it was the cheapest. Back then it was $29 each way. Flew to Tulsa, stayed in just a Marriott hotel, and worked my business, and then also made a point to go out and enjoy the city and see what's there. So it's like, okay, I'm forcing myself to be uncomfortable and learning it. And then I'd write a list, and it's like, okay,
so you're finding holes.
VPN didn't work. Whoa, mobile hotspot's a big deal. Do I need to travel with the printer? Nowadays, we don't have to do that. But all of those programs, and then at the advice of Trey and other past presidents, do it longer and longer. I spent a couple weeks in Mexico and not a soul knew, because I was trying to figure out, can I not only be out of the office, can I be out of the country for 2 months, still run a business? Wow. And my goal was to do it without people knowing, because I knew the leadership role was going to take a lot of time and travel, and I needed to be able to work anywhere. So part of that is being uncomfortable. Part of it is when you travel that much. And this was a week and a month for years. And then it went to 3 or 4 days, or two times a month I was traveling. It was all set up to cause chaos so that I could figure out how to find the calmness or how to create calm. That is the type of systems you have to create. Because if you just show up and say, hey, I'm going to run for leadership, and you don't have your back office and home set up, it's not going to work. Yeah. It's too much, especially serving at the level of chairman. I have, not an exaggeration, 5,000 to 7,000 emails from last year alone. Our text message leadership team thread, I would guess it has 100,000 text messages in it. Everything from the settlement to next week's conference to what do we wear to this event? Are we wearing ties or no ties? It is so much communication that is a full-time job by itself. So having to be able to set time to work and not just play on Facebook, actually work and prospect and show buildings. And I still have to write thank you notes, all the things that an agent has to do. Yeah. I have to do all that while being in Austin 3 days out of the month, or some days I was there 14, 15 days a month.
Yeah. So you talked about this idea of causing chaos in order to find the calm.
To create the calm.
Okay, so no, it's not even like you're trying to find something. You've got to fashion it and mold it based on the chaos you created.
Yes.
So tell me, like, somebody who's not even aspiring necessarily to go into a leadership level, but maybe they're already sitting in one at another business, unrelated to real estate. You know, I'm just thinking of a business owner who they're managing people, and they're creating and distributing product, and they're, problem solving and all the things that go with different levels of leadership. What does that look like for somebody? Do you suggest that people, in a sense, go and create chaos in order to create the peace? With
the caveat of don't blow up your business and your life. Create organized chaos. And I know that's an oxymoron. I was trying to create stressful situations that required me to put all the skills that I have and all the technology I had to my benefit. Because if it benefits me, it's also benefiting my client. So maybe that looks like, for agents, sometimes we really have a hard time disconnecting. Either we're really have a difficult time disconnecting, or we're really good at it, and the agent on the other end of the deal needs you to pick up your phone. Agents, we're talking to you. So there's got to be some disconnect, but there's got to be some boundaries. I say this lovingly and often, and I mean that as much for myself as everybody else. Boundaries in therapy are for everyone. And so you've got to have rules, and it's a little bit easier on the commercial side because we're mainly dealing during business hours. And when people are not in the office from 8 to 6 Monday through Friday, they're working on the residential transactions most of the time. So my evenings look very different than a residential agent, and my weekends look very different. And that has allowed me to do a lot of different things. And I could travel on the weekends because there's not many showings. Very rarely do we do Saturday showings. And so I could create this chaos in a way that a residential agent may need to, or a different business may need to find a different way of doing it. Yeah. But back to your question, what could a business owner or leader do? I think you have to do a few things. You have to be able to communicate well. If you are causing chaos that is causing people to be a little distracted, or you're trying to figure out some kinks in your own armor, the kinks that you need to fix, then you've got to make sure that you're able to communicate well what's going on with those around you. Okay. That could be your family, your significant other, that could be your assistant, that could be your team of, hey, an example. Hey team, I'm going out of town next week, but I'm going to be available. You can call me between these times and these times. And if it's emergency, someone's bleeding, you can call me afterwards. Being able to communicate you're available and there's clear boundaries to your availability is important. As if someone in my office is going out of town and said, hey, from noon to 4, I'm not available because I'm with my kids at the beach. Great. I'll schedule a text message to go out at 4:05 so I don't bother their time at the beach. I think meeting people where they are and where they say their boundaries are is important. And so create that chaos, be out of the town, or switch it up. one of the best ways that we did as a leadership team of creating chaos is we do something fun. We thought we were going to be doing this meeting. Well, hey, we're going to have a little icebreaker before, and now it's fun. Everyone's like, well, that's not what I came here for. I came for a meeting. It gets them thinking outside the box, moving, and their boundaries fall down. Yeah. And so part of being a good leader is also helping people's boundaries come down around you so you can work together as a team.
We need to throw that in the MLS committee every once in a while.
Just
do some
God bless the MLS committees. You guys are spending a lot of time, and it's mundane, but it's important.
It is. Yeah.
That's another thing in leadership is not everything's fun. Yeah. Serving as chairman was the most fun I've had in real estate leadership. Awesome. I got to do so many cool things, but it wasn't always fun. Those antitrust lawsuit discussions we had behind closed doors, that's not fun. Yeah. And the dozens upon dozens, really hundreds of hours we had to discuss that in a short period of time was not fun. The media attacks were not fun. But when you look at the bigger picture, it was all worth it. Yeah. We're still able to still do real estate. We may not like 100% of it, but we're still here. Yeah. So part of leadership is being flexible in that.
Well, thank you for leading us through that, by the way. Through that storm of 2024.
I must say, it was a team effort. No, there is one chairman every year, but we operate as a team. Yes. And as a non-residential guy, it was great to have the other team members who were residential who could say, this is what this means to my business, so then we could communicate it better.
Well, that's incredible. Yeah. Okay, so I love it. I think if I can already just take one nugget from this, it's go create a little bit of the organized chaos. Because you're talking about this marathon where you're not just going out and running the marathon. Like, you're going to hurt yourself. Same thing in this. You start creating too much chaos, you're going to hurt your business. There's no doubt about it. It's the baby steps to get to where you can take 3 months and go to Mexico.
If you create the systems that it takes to run an effective business, it doesn't matter if it's commercial, residential, lending, systems are key to everything. It's very addicting because then you systemize everything. So part of me having structure and being able to do what I do is I'm very systemized in my personal life as well. Example, I use technology a lot. At 5 a.m. every morning, Saturday and Sunday included, Amazon Alexa stops playing my white noise and the lights come on and the coffee maker starts and the lights in the kitchen come on. So I've created whatever systems I need to make sure I don't skip the gym. I made it to where I just have to fall into it, meaning my clothes are set out in the order of which I put them on. My contacts are on the case in the bathroom. So when I wake up, and I love the snooze button as much as everybody, I have set myself up to fall. I just have to follow the order of which I set everything up because I'm a little OCD. And then I will find the coffee and then I can start thinking clearly and get to the gym. But systems in your professional life and your personal life make everything a lot easier.
Have you read Atomic Habits?
I have.
Okay. That's what you're reminding me of is just habit stacking where let's just do one small thing first and then it leads you to the next and the next. I think that's brilliant with the white noise changing and then your lights going on. And the thing about some of this is somebody doesn't have to go out and now pay for their lighting to be fixed and changed to where it now goes on and your shades roll up or whatever it may be. But it's the simple things, right? It's let's take it all the way back to the basics of the night before. Let's lay the clothes out, or let's put the gym shoes next to the bed, or something that's going to help set you up for a little bit more success.
I keep a running list in my personal life and in my business life. So it's when I say running list, I'm not running it down. I'm a no paper guy, so it's on my phone, and it's called hurdles, and it's what are the hurdles that I'm facing on an ongoing basis. So in the morning, it was I always want to hit the snooze button because there's not enough light, and I would write that down and realize there's a solution to that. So hurdles in my business could be, man, I can't get this person to call me back, or I'm not getting the responses to my emails that I used to. What do I need to change? So I look for the hurdles and then try to find the solution. So at 5 a.m. when everything went off this morning, the 27 things that happened at 5 a.m. at my house, all of that didn't happen overnight. That's over 38 years of being alive. And really the last 15 of embracing technology of, let's add this one more thing to that same prompt with Alexa. And now my there's less stress and less decisions I have to make because you're in real estate. You make a lot of decisions every day. Yeah. If I can limit the number of decisions I have to make before I get to the office every morning, that just sets me up for success because I'm not exhausted from making a million decisions before I leave the house. Yeah. I'm just doing whatever's in front of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a question that I used to ask in some of my coaching sessions that I would do, and it would be, what's the one thing stopping you from, we're trying to get back to what's the piece, the starting point, maybe the first domino, if you will, to knock over that'll start hitting the rest of them. But usually you even find something so small, like, okay, go to bed earlier.
Right.
And then a week later you talk to them and like, yeah, I got one night in, it was a good one, solid Thursday night. And then asking like, okay, what's the thing stopping you then? What's the one roadblock, hurdle? And usually, it's like, well, I like my shows, right? Or we're cooking dinner too late, or I'm putting the kids down to bed too late and I can't make that stop in time.
Right.
So then, I love that you're writing that down and you're finding and identifying it. You sound like a problem solver. Like you like problems and puzzles. And just like, how can I find it?
That's why in real estate, I like the complex deals, the ones that make you scratch your head and say, oh, this doesn't work at first glance. We're going to have to really dive in and figure out how this works. If you can solve problems, number one, and if you can communicate your way out of them or how other people can get out of them, you're set. Doesn't matter what business you're in. And a lot of agents I see is, oh, there's a problem, but they fail to say, but here are 3 ways to fix that. They just stop at the problem, and maybe they'll suggest one. But the best agents, I mentioned I've never sold residential. When I buy residential, I use an agent. They always, the only people that I like to work with are the ones that say, hey, the roof is shot, but here's 3 options. Or here's 3 people to I've got lots of contacts, but for an agent to say, here's 3 contacts I trust, that's great. It's going the extra step and not communicating where we are, it's where we're going. You've got to do that in leadership. You've got to be doing that in your real estate business as well. And I think that separates the good from the great is your ability to communicate, but also not just now, but what's happening in the future.
Yeah. And I love the solution-oriented mindset, and I think that's in any aspect. Imagine in your leadership roles that you served on in local all the way up to state and national, that you had to have a little bit of being in front of it, a couple steps ahead by offering, hey, here's some probable places we can go with this.
To be a problem solver, we're talking about the board of directors and the leaders. They have to know what's going on. We had to know everything about everything. And we're in a people business, and so you've got to know all of the solutions, all the answers, and that's why you've got to have a great team. You've got to have the resources to help you figure out what you need to know. And in Lubbock, if you're on the executive team or leadership team, Kate and the staff do a great job of giving that to you. Same at state, but it's a combination of being uber prepared and also very flexible and able to communicate.
Yeah.
But you also have lawyers in your ear. If Lori Levy happens to be listening, it's our counsel for Texas REALTORS, saying, hey, you can and cannot say these things. And so there's a fine balance, but it was the most enjoyable experience.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fascinating. Thank you for taking me down that journey. Yeah. There's a couple different directions I want to go. One, what do people do when they want to set up systems? Like when you're because I just keep hearing leverage over and over and over again with you, whether it's a person like your assistant who's a rock star, or it's a system that you probably have that you've just learned and it's working. It's kind of automated at that point. So I want to go down that road a little bit for the everyday listener, whether they're a real estate agent or not. And then also, you said at the very beginning the word no, how you could not say no. Mm-hmm. And then now it sounds like you learned. Maybe
now I'm
no
very good at saying no.
Bad word. So you said yes to be here today, so I appreciate that.
That's true.
I love that.
I didn't know I could tell you no.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad. Anybody else who's listening, you can't say no.
There you go.
Part of it. That's the rule.
Well, let's start with the systems. If I'm going to describe it as if it's a residential agent. Commercial agents, just choose the word house and make it commercial. And if you're not in the residential world, just fill in the blanks of what works, what makes sense for you. Primarily, get a piece of paper or type it out on your phone. Write down everything you do today. And you can, if you want to be a rock star, get on Excel or get on Microsoft Word and create a calendar that's broken up in 15-minute increments. So from 6 a.m. whenever you wake up to 10 p.m. whenever you go to bed, every 15 minutes, what are you doing? Because rarely we're just sitting. I don't know anyone, at least anyone who's successful, who's just sitting for more than 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. And if you have kids, you're not sitting. Mm-hmm. So what are you doing? So for me, 5 a.m., I'm waking up and having breakfast. I'm doing my reading. I'm going to the gym. I'm at the office 99% of the time. I'm at the office at the same time every day. You could set your clock to my schedule in the mornings unless I have a meeting outside the office first thing. And so write down everything you do. And then tomorrow, do the same thing. Do that for a week. And you'll find you do a lot of the same things over and over and over. If you are doing a lot of the same things over and over, that, oh, I could create a template for this. As part of this podcast, you have a great template that says, here's some questions, here's some information we need. You just have to update the person's name and information and send that to them. That's a system that you've created for this podcast that a residential agent can do. Another thing an agent could do is go Google, I think it's the 191 things an agent does for a seller or a buyer during a transaction. NAR put it out in the past couple of years. Go look at that. Write down, after you get what you do every day on a daily basis, what do you do every time you get a listing? And if you're a listing agent, pay attention. Write down every single thing you do, because the fastest way to a fair housing violation is treating one person different than another. The way you get around that, not around that, that sounds like I'm getting away with it. The way you make sure that doesn't happen is if you have systems in place and you do the same thing to every client and treat them the exact same way. So that's hey, help my business, save some time, but make sure you don't violate fair housing at the same time. So in a listing, you're going to do a CMA report, and you may have to help me fill in some blanks here because I'm not a residential guy. You're going to go on a listing appointment. You're going to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, love the house. We need to get rid of all of this clutter. Then you're going to get it on the market. What happens? Does your office have someone who does that for you, or are you putting your listings in there? Write it down. Then the next time you list a house, go do items. It'll probably be 1 through 50, and you'll realize every time you do it, you need to add more. Are you writing down that you should write them a thank you note? You should definitely write them a thank you note multiple times in the process. So when you get done, you're going to have 100 to 200 things. And if you have no idea, copy what NAR did. They've got a great list. And you'll notice that every time when you go to a listing, you have this system that makes sure you treat everyone fairly, but also an agent or a seller nowadays is probably going to interview 2 or 3 agents. Yeah. And you're going to take that list and say, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, whomever you are, here are 191 things I do for every listing. You're welcome to look at that. Whoever you hire, just make sure they give you a list that's equal to that, because that's everything it takes for me to sell a house. And if they're not providing that, they're not the agent for you. So I've given them my checklist.
Sure.
My playbook. Has any other agent done that? Absolutely not. Yeah. And so I'm going to win more listings by doing it that way. If you're a buyer's agent, or if you happen to represent buyers as well, do the same thing. What do you do every time you represent a buyer? Write it down and then review it every time you do it, because it will change over time and you'll forget something or realize, oh, I should be doing something different. And here's a tip: choose collaboration, choose community over competition, or collaboration over competition. Ask other agents to review the list and say, am I missing something that I just do and I forget? Like, oh, put a sign in the yard. If you have people in your office or other agencies that you trust, share that list, because I'm a firm believer there's enough business for everyone. So even though we're at different offices, if you sent me that, I'd review it. Absolutely. Not everyone will. And those are the people who are not winning. The people who are sharing are winning. So then you have a checklist of everything that you do for every process: listing a building, selling a building, leasing a building. You have checklists every single time. You're not going to have you ever gotten busy and something fell through the cracks?
No,
not us.
Never have.
We're human. It happens. That helps ensure that it doesn't. And if you get to a place where you have an assistant, I can have my assistant check this and be like, hey, just FYI, you haven't put it here, or I haven't seen this. Have you done it? As some accountability to make sure we do everything we say we do. Because if you're presenting that list to a client and saying, this is what I'm going to do, and you're not, you're lying to them. So you can't just say you're going to do it. You actually have to do it and follow up. And then you have the opportunity, maybe the market's a little slow and the house isn't moving, of, hey, client, I said I would do these 152 things. We're at 125. We're right on track. I'm just checking in with you. It gives you something else besides, did my house get an offer this week, to talk about. Yes. And if not, you should have a checklist of what to do if your house isn't getting showings, or the price doesn't seem right, or you think agents are telling you you need to change something. You should have a checklist for that. Yeah. So that's how I did it, is writing down everything I did, making a checklist, and it's systemized so I'm not forgetting things. Because the more successful you are, the more business you get, the more things could fall through the cracks. And it happens to all of us. We're doing it 18 years. And one time this week, it was something simple. I won't say what it is, but I was like, oh, I should absolutely remember to do that. I forgot to do it yesterday. I'll do it today. But it was out of character because I didn't look at the checklist, which was on my desk right in front of me. So you always have to check that decades after you're doing it. Here's a pro tip. If you can do that, and that takes a while, so you'll review it every month, every week. The more you review it, the more accurate it is. That gets measured improves, I think is the saying. If you track it, it'll improve it. So you want to make sure you're doing, and if you're a solo agent, you don't have an assistant, or you're trying to grow a team and you're trying to figure out, what could I have someone do to take this stress off me? You can take a list of everything you do and put a dollar value to it. Putting something in the MLS is a job at a $10 an hour position or $12 an hour position could fill. Photography, well, you can hire somebody, and most of us do hire someone to do that. You break it down and you say, okay, great, here's a job description and all of the roles. And this may be a little more advanced. Do you know what your hourly rate is? How much you actually make and what your numbers are in your business? Agents, if you're listening and you do not, you need to know that number for this reason. I'm making a number up here. If my average salary is $300 an hour, I know that when I look at how many hours I work, and I mean I actually work and how much money I made, it's $300 an hour. I'm looking at writing a contract that my assistant can do, and I'm paying her X dollars per hour, and that's less than what I make per hour. Why am I spending 30 minutes of my time? That's $150 in this example to write a contract that someone else could be less. Why am I going to the association or Home Depot to make a copy of the key, which is going to take 30 minutes? That cost me $150 of talking to clients and showing buildings when my assistant can do that. Right. So having your numbers, having your systems, and a dollar value to what that job could look like. And if you don't know, ask ChatGPT what that position would pay in Lubbock, Texas, or whatever city you're looking in. Then I have created a job description that I can say, hey, Busy, my assistant now, here's everything that I need you to do. I don't have the dollar values. And they're just like, this is everything that we're going to do. I'm going to teach you how to do all of it. And that's going to allow me, it was tough at first because you've got to do a lot of training. Yeah. But now, 4 years later, I can be in Austin for 2 days for meetings and everything. We have the systems to communicate. Everything's flowing smoothly. And my hourly rate's still staying the same because she's freeing me up to have conversations. In fact, my hourly rate is improving because I can have conversations and work on the big picture of real estate and helping clients solve problems and not making sure I get a copy of a key dropped off at the next office.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking about too. When you set a certain dollar per hour, that is in your current state of you're doing all the crazy in the middle of it too. You haven't set up systems and processes yet and the checklists. And once those things start to establish and now you're working on the most important things, that number is going to keep skyrocketing.
Absolutely.
Right. Which then the cool thing about that is you get to bless now assistant and hire another or whatever that may be to keep that trajectory going.
And if there is a technology, so let's say we're creating a site plan, something I do not like to do, my assistant's great at that. There are resources like Fiverr that you can go online. We did one this week. A guy in Pakistan created our site plan for us. It cost us a fraction of what it would cost my assistant to do it in the same amount of time. So I give her permission. If you can outsource this and do it overseas, do it and then bring it back in-house because you saving time and money means you can get more of the other stuff done while he's working on that while I'm working on other things. So it's leveraging those as well and not being afraid to say, I mean, if you would ask me 10 years ago if a guy in Pakistan is going to be creating my site plans for a property here in Lubbock, absolutely not. Now I don't even think about it because they're 10 hours ahead of us. So when I leave the office and hit send, it's in my inbox the next morning. I would spend a week waiting on a local person to do that. Yeah. So using technology and thinking bigger, it's a huge lesson, not just in our business, but in leadership, is to think bigger and outside the walls of Lubbock, Texas, and outside the walls of our office. There's a whole lot of business and life outside that you are missing out of if you don't look out there.
Do you think a challenge in that or maybe a big obstacle is just us thinking too small
as
individuals?
That was one of the biggest things that helped hurt my business when I first started. My business did not become really successful until about 5 years in. So the first 5 years, it's a learning curve. So any new agents listening, we get you. We've been there. But it took a while to build the systems and honestly the confidence in myself to know how to do things because I was thinking so small. About year 5 and 6, I started to think bigger, and that's when I started serving in bigger roles. And now I think about the real estate industry on a much bigger scale than I did even 5 years ago because I've been exposed to more and involved in more that I'm thinking of not just average sale price in Lubbock. We're thinking of the GDP of the country of real estate. There's just a lot in between. If we can think bigger, we'll stop limiting ourselves. We'll also start using different words at and about ourselves and to ourselves. So if you ever, some people say, oh man, I always mess that up. Or, hey, no, I'm not going to get that listing. That always goes to XYZ Realtor. Our words have power. You absolutely are not going to get those listings because you're not using the right words about and to yourself. So when we start thinking bigger and start believing in ourselves more, we start being kinder to ourselves, even in our thoughts, and bigger things happen. Much, much bigger things happen.
So I've been thinking about that this week. Even the idea of sometimes I wonder if we have a limited, I think I've heard this before, we've got a limited capacity even for success in our minds of like almost a cap that of success that we think we're capable of, and we can't go beyond that. There's almost like a fear maybe of what's on the other side of that. Maybe too much chaos, maybe,
Uncertainty, unknown.
Yeah, is that something that you have experienced before, of like a fear of success, a fear
Absolutely.
of progress?
Now on the hindsight, I'm not afraid of it anymore. Now my goals are now significantly higher that do scare me. Okay. But when I first started getting in real estate, my first goal was I want to make 6 figures. But I had left a job. I was finished up college, working part-time, and this person who shall remain nameless said, Jef, you'll never be successful. You'll never make 6 figures. It took her husband 19 years to make 6 figures in his job. And you should stay and make like $30,000 a year with me because you'll be more successful doing that. Wow. And I'm motivated by negative motivation sometimes. Okay. And I said, great, I'll show you. I can't wait to come tell you when I make 100,000. Now that's a very prideful thing, and I didn't do it. I made it, and it was shortly after starting, and I was so excited. And my first thought was, now I can go tell her. And I was like, no, my heart's in the wrong place. I know she said what she said. I've proved her wrong. And now I realize that ceiling that I was afraid of was a glass ceiling that I just pushed through. Yeah. And so now you get there and you get steady. Making 6 figures is great. And you're saying, what would it take to make more? What would that look like? What changes do I have to make in my mind, first of all, and in my life for me to be more successful? What if that is that high 6 figures? What if that's 7 figures? What does that look like? How do you change that? That's a scary thought for a self-employed agent, whether you're residential or commercial, of yes, I know what I'm doing. I've made it past the 3 to 5 years that most people back out of this business or go do something else. How do I continue to provide great value? And it's okay to want more. It depends on why you want more, but it's not a problem, and it's not sinful to want more. You can do a lot more and bless a lot more people and produce at a higher level if you get your mindset right. So for me, it took years. I'm still working on it. I actually hired a business coach who's like a business therapy, life therapy coach, and they help me in my personal life, help me in my professional life. But they would say, hey, you got to think bigger. And they would say, what are you afraid of? If you fail, what will happen? So we went through tons of exercises. I've been with this therapist every 2 weeks for years. We talk about my goals. We talk about really transparency. What am I afraid of? What's keeping me back from reaching those? And realizing it's me who's keeping me back. And sometimes there's some extenuating circumstances, but there are ways to overcome that. And so being able to think bigger is so important. Yeah. And for me, and what I witness in other people, it's how they talk about themselves to other people and to themselves. That is one of the first indicators. If someone's like, oh, I'm going to make X dollars. Yeah, but market's down. I'm not doing really well. And that's just, I sometimes fail. Well, that person set themselves up for failure already. So there's definitely conversations we have to have in our own minds about our success before we'll be real successful.
Yeah, so you're just self-sabotaging at that point. Yeah. You're just saying, like, I'm just going to throw some gasoline on whatever that is and just light a match. And I'm doing that, not anybody else, but it's happening internally.
Like most people, I'm my own biggest critic. Right. And so being able to overcome that in our own minds takes years and lots of work, but it opens up so many doors where anything is possible. Yeah. And agents who are listening, if your goal is to sell 10 houses or 20 houses next year, and the question is, what would it look like to sell 50? That is a lot of houses in Lubbock, Texas. To sell 50 houses by yourself, what would you have to change to do that? Mm-hmm. First of all, the belief that you can. Yeah. And then if you're at 30, 40, 50, what would it look like to sell 100 houses? Yeah. There are people in Lubbock that sell 100 homes a year. For sure. Yeah. What are they doing? Yeah. Go have coffee with them. Go follow them. Go to their open houses. What are they doing different than you? You could create a checklist of things people are doing that I'm not doing and recreate your entire business. We're all copying the successful people. Right. And then you could grow your business from 10 to 50 to 100 to whatever you wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. So again, it's finding the holes, right? I think as you're talking about this, taking your calendar and you're jotting 15 minutes at a time, what am I doing? I bet you found a lot of time wasters in there. Yes. And you're able to do some cleanup. So for 4 years, I actually got off social media. And okay. I know some residential agents, you have to have social media for that. And I get that. Commercial, we're a little different. But for me, I was looking at my personal life and my professional life and saying, hey, I've spent a lot of time on Instagram this week. And that every Sunday when I get how many hours I spent on my phone, I'm shocked. And when I went and broke down the data, I realized, okay, social media is taking a lot of time and it's not making me happy. It's not bringing me joy. So I just deleted it for 4 years. I'm back on it now because now I have protocols. I don't spend more than 15 minutes a day on any social media because I have the timer on my phone where it won't let me on it. So I have set myself up for success with some accountability because I'll doom scroll like everybody else. Yeah. But by the end of it, I'm
tired and sad. And so I just stopped doing that.
Yep. And so even in the progress side, so we've got, your calendar where you're finding holes and you're tweaking that, understanding your dollar per hour. Then you go over here to what is it that's keeping me to the next level of thinking bigger? What am I afraid of? So what I just over and over and over again in your story, I just keep hearing, let's find a problem, find it. Like it's actually fun to look for the problem, and then let's figure out a solution, or even just one small tweak we can make that would improve that. And then the dial just keeps getting turned up slightly.
It's a marathon. I'm not going to increase my run time by an hour tomorrow. Overtime, not going to happen. It's going to take months and months and years and years. And if someone does it right, they'll have a successful business for years. Yes, you can make a significant amount of money very quickly in real estate, depending on the deals you're working on, but it's got to be something that's sustainable. You've got to keep the follow-up and doing the basics, because your clients, and if you want to keep coming back and making money, you've got to keep making your clients money. Yeah. The amount of success I have is because I've made other people successful. So I got to keep that at the forefront, serve them, make them successful, and then I'll be successful.
Absolutely. And you also, you talk about, well, I just lost my train of thought here. So I'm going to go back to your no real quick. Okay. Because you said yes to everybody. You did not know you could tell them no. And now it sounds like you've got good boundaries, better boundaries. Yes. What happened along the way? Like, what was that transition period?
When you're trying to be everything for everybody, you are nothing for nobody. That's a terrible English, but you can't be everything for everybody. And that's for a very long time. I was trying to be everything for everybody, and I was exhausted. So this is started the business in 2007, a decade later, 2017, 2018. I'm exhausted. I'm running at all cylinders. I don't have really good boundaries in personal and work life. And it got to a point where if I don't make some major changes, I'm going to have some major problems, and I'm not going to be able to achieve the goal. At that time, I had the goal of becoming Texas chairman. And I knew that a lot of things had to change in order for me to do that successfully and still have a personal life, still have family, still have work that I can come home to. And so I had to make a lot of changes and start saying no. Okay. So at that time, I was involved in 4 nonprofit boards. There's nothing wrong with nonprofit boards. I was every spare minute was volunteering my time. And then when I did my calculation of, okay, my X number of hours was spent, I gave 20 hours this week away to other people. And that's important. If those are helping me reach future goals, that's great. And the nonprofits I still believe in and still donate financially to this day, those were great, but there were other great leaders in the room who needed to step up. And there were a few. You see this in leadership. Sometimes you recycle the same people. And I was being president for the 3rd or 4th year in a row after asking not to. I said, can someone please replace me? They wouldn't. So I finally said, hey, I'm going to have to resign. I'm going to have to say no. That's going to get me 6 hours a month back. And I'm going to be able to put that to my family, to my business elsewhere. So I had to go incremental and start saying no to things. And moving up in leadership, it was a great excuse of, no, I can't because I'm in leadership. I can't do A, B, C, or D, because there are strict boundaries about things we cannot and cannot do, things that we should be involved in. We don't want to get involved in a Facebook spat, for example. So I could say, hey, I can't participate in that because I'm in leadership. So it was a great excuse to say no to a lot of things, because we need to be able to serve a member in Dallas like we would in Houston, the same. So saying no also, my business coach was like, you've got to say no and focus on what's best for you. So 2017, 18, I had to become very inward focused and a little bit selfish and protect my time and my peace and my joy, and find out, is this bringing, in any situation on the business side, is this making me money or progressing my business or progressing my clients' needs? If no, not doing it. And someone could argue, hey, the Texas REALTORS chairman is not necessarily progressing your goals. It does, because it helps me see real estate, and the amount of referrals you got was incredible. But that means I get up early. We talked about that. I've said no to going to dinners during the week most of the time, unless that dinner starts at 5:30 or 6, because I'm 85. No, it's because I need to be in bed by 8:39. If I'm going to a friend's house on a Thursday night and there's, hey, we'll all ride together. No, I'm going to take my own car so I can leave and go to bed, because yes, we're having fun. I still have a full day that I booked 2 weeks ago that has to get done tomorrow. Yeah. So saying no and being more selfish with my time meant I love to vacation. I love to travel. So sort of being selfish with my time was, I need to get as much done as I can so I can go to Mexico this weekend. Yeah. And that's for me to recoup, to relax, spend time with family. But I need to say no to going to dinner with someone that I saw last week. Yeah. So I have to prioritize my time. And when I'm in Austin for Texas Realtors meetings, I love our Lubbock agents. I love the people who are involved. But I get to see those people on a regular basis here. So when I'm in Austin, I'm saying no, except I do, at our conferences, I eat with Lubbock one evening of the week. But the rest of the time, I'm going to go meet with colleagues from Houston or Dallas. And at the national level, it's Florida and Ohio, because there's a much bigger world of real estate and relationships to be made. So saying no is even how I spend my time at conferences.
Yeah. Which is a hard thing to do. And I'm even thinking on a daily basis, like here, and I look at my schedule in the last, I'm really good about, feeling confident weeks in advance of like, oh yeah, I can handle that on Thursday, and I can go ahead and do that on Thursday and that Thursday. And then when that Thursday actually rolls around, it's like, whoa, why did I do this to my schedule? I've got no time and nothing in the gaps, or no gaps to fill in something. And so, it's because somebody asked me to a lunch or coffee, and I feel so obligated to do that,
Right.
and I think I'm not the only one that has that boundary issue.
In business, we want to meet with our lenders. We want to meet with our friends. We are relationship people. And especially if you're in real estate, you got to be a people person. But sometimes the best thing you can do is say, hey, how about no, not this week, but next week? Because you don't have to give them a reason.
Yeah.
I'm booked.
Yeah.
I'm in a meeting. If I tell someone I'm in a meeting and I can't do that day, well, great. Well, let's schedule another time. You can still fulfill that obligation if you feel it, or that desire to have lunch with that person, but it doesn't mean it have to be this week.
It happen right away. Yeah.
And so being uber selfish with your time and your priorities, and also giving yourself the grace to say, hey, I committed to doing this. But for example, if you call me and say we're going to do lunch, and we actually had to reschedule a couple times for this podcast because we both are busy lives, that's okay. That's not the end of the world. We're going to go on with our day tomorrow, and it'll be busy, but it's okay. You can reschedule for what's best for you.
No. Man, I got so many questions for you. I feel like we could go like 2 or 3 hours here, because now I want to know, we're talking about calendars, we're talking about scheduling out things. I want to know about, do you schedule time for you personally?
Oh, yes.
For rest, but also for thinking about the future, for just letting yourself kind of take a mind trip.
Quick look into my playbook. Fridays at 4 p.m. You won't find me in my office.
Okay.
You will find me in front of a beverage of choice and some chips and salsa and a notebook and a computer.
Okay.
By myself. And I'm thinking about the next week. I'm thinking about the next month. I'm thinking about the next year. I'm also thinking if I've got some longer term leadership goals down the road of who do I need to call in the next week that will help me with something I want to do in 10 years from now. And so I lay it out, and I because life is so hectic and there's so much going on, I actually schedule connecting with my friends. So part of that time on Friday or even Saturday mornings is I will schedule, okay, I've got a list of 30 of my closest friends in the real estate industry, not in Lubbock, Texas. I will talk to them some of them I talk to every day, some I talk to every week, some I talk to every month. But it's my core group of friends that I see at every conference. They are on my calendar to call and FaceTime or text. Because if I forget and get busy, it may be 2 weeks before I think about it again, and that's not being a good friend to them. So I schedule those who are most important to me. If you're on that list, you are on my schedule and my calendar to call, to email, to FaceTime, whatever it may be. And it's going to sound like, hey, I'm just calling to check in. They don't realize it is scheduled, and it's scheduled for the next year. That my friend Gloria in Ohio, who's more family than a friend, she doesn't know this. She'll listen to this podcast. But like next month, I know exactly what day I'm going to call her. I'm actually going to go see her and her family in Ohio. And then I already have scheduled when I'm going to call her again. And if something pops up, yes, I will. But the best thing about being a spontaneous friend is actually scheduling that out. Because I think, and I don't mean this in a selfish way, my friends would argue that I am a better friend to them than they are to me. It's only because I'm communicating to them more.
Right.
But back to your question, do I think about the future? Yes. An hour a week on Fridays, and then Saturday, that's business. Saturday mornings is my personal time. So, hey, I've got a personal budget I got to keep up with. I've got investments I need to look after. I need to figure out what does 10 years from now look like for me on a working basis. Where will I be with that? I do professional speaking for the real estate industry. What does that look like? And so there's a lot of personal planning that happens Saturday morning. Friday afternoons that's when I'm planning. And it's every week. Sometimes that's on a plane. Sometimes that's in a busy airport. But it's always a priority to make sure I think about the future, whether that's the day, week, month, or year.
Yeah, that's a theme that I've been hearing many times is taking some chunk out, and some I've heard 4 hours, some a day, a full day, and some 15 minutes, some an hour. But really the whole premise is sitting with yourself. And I think it's easy to say I've got way more pressing things to do in this time, and I've got to take care of the burning fire. But then it's almost like this hamster wheel that we stay on because we're not allowing ourselves to think any larger than the current hamster wheel we're on.
Right? I think it's important to stop and rest. And it's important to realize that the world will go on if you don't show a house today.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean abandon our clients and not communicate with them, but the world will go on. People will, if you allow them to control your schedule, you will. No one controls my schedule but me.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean I'm saying no to everything. It just means that if it fits my schedule, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or we'll rearrange until a time that it does. But it's not going to be other people scheduling for me. That doesn't work for me.
Yeah. So the cool thing about what you're saying is I think you can listen to somebody in a business position like yourself, leadership position, and you can think like, well, they must be all business without the social or the friendship side of things. But the theme of this whole conversation too is scheduling time to be a friend. You've mentioned thank you cards multiple times.
Yes.
And I could tell you're probably very passionate about making sure you send cards to people. Is that
true.
Accurate?
Pro tip: I have very terrible handwriting. Sorry to my elementary school teachers. My assistant actually writes my notes for me.
Okay.
And we use we have software where I type it up who it needs to go to. But I've been in a lot of committee meetings and a lot of board meetings in the last year. And so in those meetings, you're there for an hour, 2 hours sometimes. Well, I have an attendance list. I just send that to my assistant and say, we now have a database. Anyone I'm in a regular meeting with, they're in our system. Yeah. And I say, hey, here's the people at the meeting today. Send them a thank you note to say thank you for attending. Those people are going to get home tomorrow, and tomorrow or the next day, they're going to get a thank you note from me. They don't know it's not my handwriting. They're going to get a thank you note from me saying thank you for being there.
Yeah.
When I list a building, when I show a property, when anything, I want to write as many thank you notes as I can, because how many thank you notes did you get in the last week or last year?
Oh, man, I probably like 5.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Do you remember them?
I do.
People don't send thank you notes.
Right.
I send a lot of thank you notes.
Yeah.
People remember you. People are like, wow, you sent me a note. And if it's the smallest thing in the world, happy birthday. I mean, we know a lot about our clients. Start writing that down and tracking it so you can send a thank you card. You can send a happy birthday card. You can send a happy anniversary or happy home anniversary. Those type cards, people will remember that.
Oh, I can tell you the way the cards look from years ago.
Yep.
Some of my first handwritten cards. And they came from real estate agents. Because, I mean, real estate agents many of them are good at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that, I love doing it too. I think it makes you feel good when you're actually writing it and you've got some gratitude. So
right.
I know even there's probably times when you're handwriting on a plane or something.
Yes.
And it's not always with a system involved. But there is gratitude that comes from that as the person doing it.
Yes.
And even on your mind of like, okay, I am going to reach out to these people later. Right. Gives you a sense of, I'm thankful they're here in this moment right now.
Right.
To the point of, jotting a thank you card to the pilot of a plane. I think something like that of like, hey, just thank you for getting me here safely.
I travel with a pack of 20 or so postcards that are stamped.
Yeah.
And I have the people that I want to regularly send them to. I've got a buddy. His birthday's in September, but we wish him happy birthday every day except his actual birthday. And so I send him happy birthday cards all throughout the year just when I find funny ones.
Wonderful.
But when I'm on a plan, hey, thanks for this, thanks for service. Yeah. And not that we're doing that to get things, but when you send, I fly a lot, and so I have a lot of the same flight attendants. And so I'm giving them thank you cards, giving them kudos, writing the company an email saying, hey, these 3 people did a fantastic job. The service I get in return, it's like I'm a rock star. It's amazing that hey, Mr. Conn, come be upgraded. I'm like, well, I didn't ask for that, but thank you. And it's just because I'm taking time to say thank you to somebody. The world is so negative, and I can't watch the news anymore. And if you want to be negative, you can. Forcing yourself to say thank you to somebody, it's more for me because it's changing my mindset of the world.
It does.
And how I'm viewing things. And I could be having a rough day. Rough days happen to all of us. But saying, okay, no, but I still have to say thank you to this person. I have to get in the right mindset to have, okay, thank you for what? Be specific. And so it changes me more than it changes them.
Absolutely. Man, that's so good. So pro tip, carry the cards with you.
Yeah.
I do the same thing in my briefcase. I've got a stack of stamped envelopes and can write them wherever I'm at, drop them off where I'm at. You can see my desk over here. There's stacks of cards. I also enjoy doing it.
It's not so much the substance. It's the act of doing it. It's saying thank you. It could be 2 or 3 sentences. It's not rocket science. It's easy. Thank you for answering your phone.
Right.
You could say that, agents, but be a little bit more creative than that.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what it says. Just send it.
Okay. Man, that's good. Okay. Well, I want to jump into the book because I did ask you about a book.
Yes.
The recommendation, and you said Profit First.
Yes.
Correct?
My other option was Dealing with People You Can't Stand. It's a fantastic book. But
I
I just love the title because it throws people off.
That is a good one.
Yeah, Profit First. Love this book.
Okay.
Here's why. Growing up, I was taught you get a job, you make a living, you pay your bills, and if there's savings left over, you save that for a rainy day. Reading this, luckily I read it shortly after it came out, was no, we need to be thinking about ourselves first. Now, depending on your religious views and your beliefs, you may see differently, but my first dollars pay my tithe. From there, then I pay myself, and then everything else. So this changed my mindset of, hey, making sure the company, because we are running a business, is set up for success. And if I know I'm paying a profit of X number of dollars on every deal or every month, however you get it set up, then I know that that part's taken care of and I have to fit everything else within that. So God and family are taken care of, my business is taken care of, and then there's everybody else. Yeah. If you do it the opposite, you're so stretched thin, God and family get none, and that's not how it's going to work. It does not work. So it also helped me set better goals because I'm saying, okay, X number of dollars is being saved or X percentage of deals is being saved, but why? Why am I having all this war fund, this war chest of money? What am I going to do with it? And so thinking more strategically about growing my business, about investing, because nearing 40, my personal thoughts is passive investments. That's what I'm thinking about now because I love real estate and clients. I love real estate. I'm not quitting tomorrow, but I don't want to be doing this forever. So my goal is just to grow my passive investments every year. So that way I can just retire whenever I want.
Yeah.
But Profit First led to that a lot.
Yeah. So I'm glad you said it because our business is set up on Profit First as well.
Yeah.
The brokerage, my personal, and it has changed so much about the way that we do life and the way that we save money and the way that we can do fun things guilt-free. Right. We can go take a trip or we can make a purchase, and it's like because we profited and we were profitable. And then you have to figure out how are we going to prioritize what's left?
Yeah.
Right. And that it makes the plate smaller, which is a concept in the book, right? We're eating off of smaller plates.
Right.
And so you're way more intentional about the things that you do.
It also means you sometimes have to make some really hard decisions.
You have to say that inward.
But
no.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to say no.
Yeah.
But it also means after reading that, my commitment was we're never going to say no to ourselves. We're always betting on ourselves. We're always going to make sure we pay ourselves, and then we'll focus on everybody else. Yeah. And that has been a huge reminder. It takes away the financial stress that this business has. There's so many ups and downs, but when you have a nest egg that you can say, okay, real estate's slow this month or 2 months, whatever it may be, you're not stressing because that adds a different level of discomfort and chaos to your business that you don't need.
Yeah. So these themes kind of go throughout these whole podcasts, and you're talking about being very intentional about your money, right? You're giving it to yourself first, to God, yourself, and then figuring out what to do with the rest. And I think the same way with your daily schedule of like, where's the things that I'm going to budget for me first, and then I'm going to budget elsewhere. And then if it's not working, I got to find a different system for that. And that theme is something that just seems so ingrained in you that you know the importance of taking care of yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
And not in a selfish way either.
Correct.
Because when you're doing that, you're being a better leader, that gives you the ability to get to the position where you're serving 150,000 agents. Plus,
right.
Whenever you get on a national committee, now you're serving, millions.
1.4 million.
Yeah. So it just is, it's really neat seeing the intentionality that you have. And it does not surprise me one bit that your business has taken off and continues year over year, that more and more leadership opportunities have presented themselves. And so I think that if we could take one lesson from that, it's find the holes in our systems.
Right.
Where can we make sure that we're pouring into ourselves financially,
right,
with our time and our attention on Friday at 4, and then how do we manage the rest,
yep,
right? What systems do we use? So.
And it is, if you do that, it takes a lot of practice, but it will set you up for success. I call it stress management. By doing all these systems, the stress, the day-to-day stress of the world, it's not bothering me.
Yeah.
And I can focus on bigger pictures and be cool-headed when I'm responding to the problems that I like to find.
Yep.
Works well.
Okay, so I got one more question to ask you,
Okay.
which is the one to wrap up with. But before I do, this question has been on my mind for a long time, and it's because I always spell it wrong. But it's your name. It's got one F, right? So Jef.
Yeah,
Conn,
my parents
with two
only had
N's.
Two N's.
So that's how I know. Like, nope, the double's at the end. It's not in the middle. So I want to know this. Like, where did the Jef with one F come from?
My parents only had one F to give.
Okay.
So there you go.
There you go. I love it. Did they seriously tell you that?
So my real name is Jeffrey with two F's. And
Okay.
if you go look up a trek, you'll find me there.
Okay.
You'll also find no complaints. Thank you very much.
There you go.
But
Number one
when
thing.
my parents would spell it, I thought they were spelling it with one F. I just didn't know that they were,
that right?
because they were just bad handwriting. And so I just Jeff with one F.
You picked
So
that up. and
that's how it
where
is.
went.
Everyone forgets the Jeff with two F's. No one forgets Jeff with one F, especially if their parents only had one F to give.
There you go. Yep.
It has worked
No,
very well for marketing. People know who I am because when I go to all these meetings, they say, "Hey, it's one F Jeff,"
It's
which
one
is
F Jeff.
true.
Yeah. Oh, that's neat. So making it memorable for people.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, want to conclude now with the one question of if you could simplify leadership into one sentence, kind of define it in one sentence. What does that mean to you? What is it?
Leadership is for everyone, no matter if you're, for agents specifically, 2 years in the business or 20 years in the business. And leadership should be for everyone of all age and race and all the fair housing subsects. But it's important because we need your voice. The real estate industry is as much as the voice that I've been able to give it for a few years, Ruben, it needs your voice the same. So to every agent who is listening, we need you. We need you to step up and lead, to show up, because this real estate industry does not run itself. It takes people like you and I to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was more than one sentence. I'm sorry.
So I heard it is leadership. What was it at the very beginning? Leadership is for everyone.
Yes.
And yeah, I think that was like a ... And then
Yes.
it went on.
Leadership
But
is for everyone. And
leadership. Yes. So yeah, I didn't know that until I decided like, hey, I'm going to get on a committee. And then, then it kept going. And really the reason I did it was to meet more agents. I just didn't know, like I'd get on the phone with somebody like, I have no idea who this person is. Like, I want to get more involved. So here's a way to get involved. And then as I step into it, it's like, oh, there's actually a need to get involved.
You also just gave away the secret. If you're not doing well in business, get to know people. If you're doing well in business, get to know more people. That's the key.
Yeah.
I stayed involved in leadership all these years because I genuinely like the people I'm hanging around and making decisions with.
Yeah.
So get to know people. It'll help your business. It really will.
Yeah. And care for them. Send them thank you cards.
Send them thank you cards.
Schedule a time to reach out to them. Have your systems.
Yeah, absolutely. Systems
Man,
are key.
I love it. This one was one that just went, different ways the whole time. And I loved it. I think there's a lot that I want to pull out and think, when can I go through my calendar? Can I do that? When can I have my time of reflection?
I'll challenge you. Not when can you, but when will you?
When will I? Okay. This is so good. So, well, thank you, Jef. Thank you for being here today. And we're going to continue watching where you go next and what you do. And I'm sure it's just going to keep going up and to the right.
It'll be fun. Thanks for having me.
Keep it up, man. Absolutely. Thanks for coming.